Are you tired of constantly scrolling past the classic Chevy truck of your dreams in your feed? Well, it only makes sense that you could be suffering from some serious FOMO, as these trucks are simply amazing and interest in them is at an all-time high. From the timeless lines of C10s to our childhood nostalgia of OBS trucks, these vintage pickups are making a real impact in modern car culture. The only question is, which model will look best in your driveway? Hello folks, my name is Kevin, and what I like to do best is spread the love for low-slung classic pickups. I've been in the truck game for quite some time now, and I've witnessed the truck scene continue to grow over the years. I've seen some people come and go, yet the trucks remain a constant. And I'm sure that those that step away from all of this never really go away. They just creep in the background, and that's okay with me. I think once you get the custom truck bug, you will never find a cure. And honestly, this is the type of infection that can truly be good for your mind and soul. For those wanting to break into the scene like this with a classic truck, I can tell you there are many to choose from, and Chevys are very popular. Now, I do like and appreciate all haulers, but for some reason GM trucks have been at the top of the list with the masses, thus making it easier to build one as the aftermarket follows trends and offers a whole host of goodies for them. In fact, you can even build some entirely from scratch these days. If we break it down a little further, both C10s and OBS Chevys are the peak of interest here. For those that are unaware of the differences, let's break it down. I'll start with C10s, as there are 3 generations of them, starting with the fridge-style 60 to 66 trucks, which were considered ugly for years as they have very bold and distinct lines. I love them as they stand out, and I can really appreciate the beauty of their bulky design. Replacing these trucks back in the day was the 2nd gen 67 to 72 GM trucks, which are by far the most popular of all Chevys, and I would even state that they may be the most highly regarded classic truck design ever. And I can see why, as these trucks really did have a slick body style for their era. Yes, there are other good-looking trucks made during the same time, but most were bulkier, and it's easy to see why these trucks are loved by many. I truly believe that no other truck back then had such a sleek design, and they were definitely ahead of their time. The last generation of C10s was the 73 to 87 GM trucks that are similar in the components department, but came with beefier bodies. I am old enough to remember a time when these were a dime a dozen and were not really considered sacred like they are today. Along the way, they became classic and obviously built a following with enthusiasts. As the years passed, the trucks became scarce and hence prices increased. As you can gather, there are 3 different styles of C10s, and most of them had similar equipment in different packages. Today we kind of lump them all together as C10s because they do share similarities, but they do have multiple distinct looks. The only one that could be called out more is the 3rd gen 73 to 87 pickups, which are nicknamed square bodies for their rather flat exterior panels. While these GM trucks were having their long run, the execs at GM remained busy creating the next generation pickup. Starting in 1988, they released the GM T400 platform, and it was completely revolutionary as it was built with more car-like features to make them more comfortable to use. In the past, trucks were more utilitarian, and with this model they became something that could be daily driven and also dependable to haul big loads. These trucks were very popular to say the least, and boy did I see them everywhere in the 90s. My dad even bought a 93 GMC back in the day, and this truck was very influential to me. I saw the beauty in the sleek design and remember pointing out other trucks like it when driving around. I was obsessed with them and have never fully recovered since. These pickups got me into all of this, and I have never lost my passion for them. These trucks also helped launch the sport truck era, which consists of powerful and lowered pickups. This movement completely flipped the script, as previously trucks were only considered to be used purely for their hauling capabilities. But people realized that these trucks could be turned into high-performance vehicles, since they were easy to drive and V8 engines were a popular option on them from the factory. As a reaction to the aftermarket sport truck scene, Chevy offered a limited edition truck from 1990 to 1993 that had a single cab, short bed configuration, powered by a 454 cubic inch engine. These were called the Chevy 454 SS and are now one of the most highly regarded trucks of that time. Nowadays, 88 to 98 GM trucks are better known as old body style or OBS trucks, and for those of us that are fond of the 90s, These trucks represent the peak of society before computers and smartphones became so integrated into our everyday lives. Nostalgia is a powerful thing, and the GMT 400 model, Chevy Silverado, and GMC Sierra trucks hit hard on so many levels with those of us that remember when they were new. If you want to find out more about these trucks, you can catch an entire video I did on them. With all these classic truck options, it does make it hard to pick one to own and customize. And a lot of this depends on personal preference, as all these trucks do have a style of their own, and there are so many custom possibilities for each. For example, C10s are celebrated for their bold lines and look better with their big bumpers, door handles, and side trim. On the other hand, OBS trucks lend themselves better to shaving items and even adorning roll pans in the back. In fact, I think they really helped build the show truck scene, as they were very popular to build with wild modifications. As far as looks go, OBS trucks are a bit of new nostalgia, and many people still have a hard time seeing them as classic trucks. With C10s, unless they get heavily customized or redesigned, there's no mistaking them as the vintage haulers they truly are. And this is not to say that OBS trucks are not classic, but it is clear they are from a different era. Some of this may have developed from the oil crisis of 1973, when the entire auto industry changed for the sake of being more efficient and economical. Before then, there was practically no concern for the size of trucks and how much fuel they guzzled down. Trucks were a bit immune to this at first, but when gas prices surged up, automakers had to pivot and cater to customers' needs of using less fuel. This forced a new breed of engines for OBS trucks that use computer-controlled throttle body injection, which actually provides more power and efficiency. However, there is a big trade-off here, as the tech on these newer Vortec engines is more complex and difficult to modify for performance gains. There are more sensors and other components that can fight you when trying to squeeze out more ponies, and unless you are in California like me, where there are heavy restrictions on replacing emissions-controlled engines, performing engine swaps to newer motors like the tried and true LS platform has become commonplace. For C10s, most of them came with stout small block or big block V8s, which are considered some of the best engineered engines of their time. They are quite different from modern engines too, as they use old school analog style carburetors that have to be manually tuned to feed them fuel. These setups were so popular with enthusiasts that people have swapped them into everything from muscle cars to vintage Ford coupes of the early 19th century. If you're on a budget and find a truck that has one of these V8s, then you're off to a good start. If the small block or big block is working in decent order, then you can simply maintain them for use. However, if issues are a bit more serious, the V8s that came in these trucks can be easily rebuilt for relatively cheap. Either way, you're in a good position with these engine options. On the contrary, I would not mess with V6 or inline-6 engines if you can avoid it. They are older and not popular, hence making it tough to find replacement parts. Here in California, you would not be able to perform a swap on trucks from 1976 to the present day, but for those in all other states, I would recommend doing yourself a favor by dumping all 6-cylinder engines for any V8 swap. Well, now that I've discussed some of the power options on these trucks, let's move on to suspension. The goal here is to change the height for added style or even better capabilities. For those strapped for cash, static drops on most C10s and OBS trucks are relatively cheap. You can find good quality entry-level lowering kits for only a few $100 from reputable companies like Beltec, DJM, or McGoy's. Though do keep in mind, the lower you go, the higher the cost will be. Also in my experience, I think lowered OBS trucks ride better than lowered C10s. After lowering my 62 GMC, it drove okay, but hitting bumps is when things felt uncomfortable. However, when I gave my dad's 93 GMC a dramatic 4.6 drop, it rode like a dream and the turning radius was great too. I think it just comes down to the fact that OBS trucks have a better engineered chassis. C10s are considerably older and the technology at the time of their construction was archaic, but they did the best with what they had. Of course, if you have more saved up in your piggy bank, you can always modernize the ride quality on any of these trucks. You can find bolt-on coilover kits from TCI, RideTech, and even QA1. And if you want the ultimate in handling and performance, I would recommend a full chassis from TCI, GSI, Chop and Block, or even Roadster Shop or Acme, who have the only full chassis for OBS trucks. Now this may sound like overkill, but trust me, if you can afford to slip a new chassis under your rig, you won't want to drive anything but your classic truck, as they ride so smooth. Of course, if you want to slam these trucks, the companies I just mentioned have air ride kits that can help your truck kiss the pavement. Though do keep in mind that with airbags, there are many parts involved that can create more complications. Well, moving on to the inside of these trucks, C10s are more basic and won't need as many replacement parts. Square bodies do have more plastics in the cab, and the dash is known to be problematic. When OBS trucks were built, a lot more plastic pieces were used to save costs, and it has been very difficult to source replacements. Luckily, LMC Truck has been on it here, and I believe they have all the interior pieces, including reproduction dashes for 88 to 94 models. For OBS trucks with round dashes, I believe TMI Products has a cover for them, as well as seating options for most classic Chevy trucks. Speaking of seating, I really prefer riding in an OBS truck as the cloth material on the seats is really cozy. It almost makes you feel like you're driving around on a couch. Seating in C10s is more basic as bench seats were more common, though buckets were an option. However, you can always upgrade your seating with Snowden or TMI products, which have been a popular choice here. Now, as you can see, there are complications that can come with any of these older pickups. I think as far as cost goes for decent running C10s or OBS Chevys, you're gonna have to fork out a pretty penny for each. Just be aware that you can have more issues with electronics and brittle parts on OBS trucks, but you might have bigger engine and suspension issues on C10s. So unless you get incredibly lucky by finding a good OBS for cheap, I think C10s are a better choice in the long run. They are very basic, making them easier to work on, and they are also worth more when done correctly. But the eye is of the beholder, and it really does come down to personal choice on which is better for you. All of these trucks can be made into striking customs that can blow the pants off sports cars, and I absolutely encourage people to build trucks like this. It's simply amazing to smoke an expensive car off the line with a truck, and this is just part of why I love these haulers so much. They are infectious, and I'm completely okay with that. Well, that just about does it for this video, and we thank you for watching it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future video, and we will catch you next time.